Hello, and welcome to a video lecture about avoiding plagiarism. Yeah, we know plagiarism is academic dishonesty, but are we really clear on what it is and how to avoid it? Maybe not. So this is all about avoiding plagiarism by paraphrasing. And paraphrasing is a term that gets thrown around, but maybe you're not too sure what it means. It just means rewording someone else's source material completely into your own words while keeping the meaning the same. So, one of the reasons you need to paraphrase is because no quotes of any length or kind are allowed in your essays for this class. Not in your discussions, not in your essays, not in anything you write in this class. No quotes. Regardless if they're inside or outside quotation marks, they'll be treated as plagiarism. So, incomplete paraphrasing, which is where you change some of the words but not all the words, is still plagiarism. Incomplete paraphrasing is the most common form of plagiarism I see. It's unintentional, but students submit their essay or assignment or discussion with incomplete paraphrasing, where the student rearranges sentences or uh, puts in a few words of their own, but basically uses phrases and groups of words that come directly word for word from the source. How do I find these? I submit all your essays, discussions, and assignments to Turnitin. It just takes a second, so I don't mind. And I set it so that it will ignore 2-word and 1-word similarities between students' essays and the sources in the Turnitin database. So what does this mean? This means you should paraphrase so completely into your own words that no 2 words appear in the same order in your source's text and your own essay's text. There are a few exceptions like dates, locations, and technical terms like cerebrospinal fluid or functional magnetic resonance imaging. There's the APA, which stands for American Psychological Association, online dictionary of psychology. If you want to know if something is a term, you enter it into that. And if it comes up, it's a term. So a warning about paraphrasing, it is so easy to do this, and don't do this because I know the sources that you're using, and I'll know if you change the meaning of the source material. So when you paraphrase, don't change the meaning of the source material. So when you put the source's words into your own words, when you paraphrase them, make sure you don't change the conceptual meaning at all of what the source author is trying to tell you, what they're stating or arguing or teaching. You're putting it in different words, but it should be true to the original meaning of the source author's words. So when you're paraphrasing, be sure to keep the conceptual meaning the same as what was said in the source. Paraphrasing is not changing the meaning of the source at all. It is keeping the meaning the same and just using different words. If you want to put into your essay your own thoughts, just make clear what's your own thoughts, your own argument, your own thinking, and make clear what comes from the source. I'm not requiring citations. I know some of your writing intensive classes do, but I do want to know what is from the textbook and what is from the article or video and what is your own thought. So here are some 4 techniques for avoiding unintentional plagiarism in your essay assignments and discussions. It's going to teach you how to fully paraphrase your source material into your own words. So the first technique is kind of a meta technique. It's how to use paraphrasing twice. So it's called double paraphrasing. And this is by far absolutely the best way to be sure that you're not plagiarizing, is to double paraphrase. And that's by writing your essay based on your already paraphrased notes. So you're paraphrasing your already paraphrased notes in your essay. So to fully avoid plagiarism, you must break the bad habit of typing the words and phrases that go into your final document while you are reading directly from your source. It is just too easy to accidentally type the same phrase that you're reading from the source. Maybe just because you don't notice you do it, or maybe it just sounds so good, or whatever the reason, but it's just way too easy if you're reading from the source and typing at the same time into your document, your final document, that you're going to use some of the same words and phrases that you're reading in that final document. Instead, you should use the technique of double paraphrasing. The first part of it is taking fully paraphrased notes, and you take notes for all your sources, or the entire source if it's just one source. If there's a relevant section of the textbook, you'll need to paraphrase that too in your notes. And then when you're typing the phrases and sentences into your final document, fully paraphrase it again. So by changing the words and phrases you used in your notes, it is very unlikely that any two words will appear in the same order in your final essay as they appear in your notes and as they appear in the source, except for names, dates, technical terms, places. There's an additional benefit of double paraphrasing, and one of the reasons why I'm such a cheerleader for it, which is that double paraphrased papers are always better organized and more clearly written essays. So not only are double paraphrased papers written based on paraphrased notes 100% sure to avoid plagiarism, they are also always better thought out papers. Double paraphrase essays are better organized and written since the student has thought through all the source material once by doing the paraphrase notes. They've worked their way through, they know all the source material completely, gone through it once when they took their full set of paraphrase notes from the source or sources. Then the student thinks through all the source material completely a second time, where they reorganize it and paraphrase it again in a full set of notes, paraphrase again that full set of notes into their final document. It's just better thought out because you know the whole source. There's no surprise of the source saying something later that you didn't expect. You can organize it because you know the whole source from having paraphrased it. So paraphrased essays written based on a full set of paraphrased notes from all the sources are always more conceptually and logically organized and are more clearly written than papers written directly from a student's first reading of the source material. Yeah, it takes some more time, but it really pays off. So don't skip the step of writing a full set of paraphrase notes. Okay, so that's saying paraphrase and paraphrase, double paraphrase. But here are some techniques for actually doing that paraphrasing the first or second time. One is to write summarizing notes. So this is another technique for fully paraphrasing. It's to write summarizing notes while you're reading your source. So writing summarizing notes can avoid plagiarism because it's too easy to write a source's exact phrase when you're taking notes sentence by sentence. Like you read the source's sentence and then you write your notes. You read the next source sentence, then you write your notes. Too easy to take a phrase, to take a wording. Instead, you should write paraphrase summary notes from the source, paragraph by paragraph, where you put into your own words in a couple, maybe 3 sentences, the main point or points that the author made in an entire paragraph. You're boiling it down and putting it into your own words, and that's so much easier when you're summarizing it and getting to the real meat of it. So always take a second to double check a couple of things. Reread your summarized notes to confirm that your summary accurately reflects the longer original source material, and then also check that no more than 2 words are in the same order. Okay, here's another technique for paraphrasing. This one is especially good for those hard to paraphrase words. That they're not terms, but you don't want to use those words because you're having problems thinking of your own words for it. And the way to handle that is to combine the use of a thesaurus followed by a dictionary. And just a reminder, a thesaurus is, well, it used to be a book, but now it's a web page. And there are a bunch of them. Merriam-Webster, I use thesaurus.com or Merriam-Webster's thesaurus. And you look up a word and it lists for you a whole bunch of synonyms, which is words with either the same or similar meanings. They don't make a distinction. They're in some way a similar or same meaning. And I don't just want you to use a thesaurus. The trick to really making this work and not writing an essay that doesn't make sense is to do the second step and use a dictionary on those synonyms. So this paraphrasing technique is for those times you're struggling to come up with a different wording to use in your notes. And you use the combined power of first using thesaurus.com and then dictionary.com. So use thesaurus.com to find a few candidate synonyms, which are different words with almost the exact same meaning, for your notes. So you still are a good writer, but then you also do the second step, which I'll tell you in a bit. So yeah, you're going to look for synonyms, but as I said, they have similar meanings, not necessarily the same. And you want words that reflect the true, accurate, and clear conceptual meaning, same meaning as your source author's original words. So the trick to doing that is not to just go halfway and only use thesaurus.com to pick a synonym. Go the rest of the way and take a few candidate synonyms and plug them into dictionary.com to double check you're clear on all of the full meanings of those candidate synonyms that you've picked from the list from thesaurus.com. Synonyms listed by the thesaurus have some meaning, maybe not their most frequent meaning, common meaning, that are somewhat similar but not necessarily exactly the same. Just something to note about looking things up in a dictionary. The most common meaning of a word is listed first, and then there are oftentimes more than one meaning, and as you go down the list, it's the less and less common meaning of the word. Okay, the fourth technique for helping you paraphrase is to switch around the order of the sentence you're paraphrasing. So switching around the order of the original sentence means you rewrite the source's sentence so that the concept of what is said at the end of the sentence you say first in your paraphrase sentence, and the concept that's said at the beginning of the source's sentence you put last in your sentence. So you switch around the components of it, but then you change the surrounding words so to keep the same logical meaning of your newly paraphrased sentence. So usually it's a relationship between components, like A causes B, or A is related to B, or A and B are similar, A and B are different. There's usually at least 2 subcomponents to make a logical statement in a sentence. And you reorder which one gets talked about first and which one gets talked about last, but then you switch around the surrounding words to keep the same logical meaning as the source article or video's original sentence. So after you finish the order, switch the order of the sentence, reread what you wrote as your paraphrase notes, and compare the wording of your notes to the wording of the article or video's original sentence in the source to double check that no two words appear in the same order. And also, you are checking that your reordered sentence conceptually means the same thing as the original sentence. Okay, so those are techniques to help you avoid unintentional plagiarism. So what happens in cases of plagiarism in this class? Plagiarism does come in different forms. There's intentional plagiarism. I talked about that. Paper mills, reusing a paper from a different class, copying and pasting from Wikipedia, things like that. Those happen, but not as frequently as unintentional plagiarism. So every semester I have at least one assignment or discussion that has plagiarism. And if it's unintentional or intentional, you do not earn more time for a second chance rewrite of a plagiarized work. Not for full credit, not for partial credit, not at all. It would be rewarding a bad behavior. I'm sure everybody in the class wishes they had extra time to rewrite their work. Why would I reward a plagiarizer, even an unintentional one, by giving them a chance for the same points after they had plagiarized? There has to be some repercussions. So usually a first instance of plagiarism, especially unintentional plagiarism, in an essay earns a score of 0 points. And as I said, no rewrite. In repeated cases of plagiarism, or severe cases like intentional plagiarism, it will be reported to the dean. I will give you a disciplinary F in the course, and the dean can make disciplinary decisions if you're a repeat offender, if it's particularly egregious, that could include suspension and expulsion. Pretty severe. All right, that's the end of this pretty quick lecture. I hope you do great on the quiz about it.